What's up, you wild horror movie enthusiasts? It's those wild Cinephellas,
Yeah.
those wild Cinephellas boys here. Saturday night, getting lit before the Conor McGregor fight tonight, and tonight we're going to be talking about one of the most anticipated films of last year, but coming out this year. And of course, we're talking about A24's newest horror film, Saint Maud.
Saint Maud.
And Saint Maud, I'm going to say my name is Saint Logan Myers. And what's your name, mate?
You can just call me Saint Henry.
Saint Henry. Oh, St. Henry's with me tonight. We're going to be talking about the brand new film. We actually got a press screener for this. We're huge fans of A24 as a company putting out a lot of great films, and we're friends with them. They send us press screeners quite a bit, and I've been to a lot of A24 screeners downtown Chicago. Huge fan of the company, and they're always putting out unique and original films, and that's why I love them. And Robert Pattinson's been a few A24 films, really showing his acting chops. So they are consistently putting out great films. And with that being said, Saint Maud is definitely original and unique and horrific at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah, like you mentioned, A24 has been putting out some great independent films, and particularly in the horror genre for the past couple of years. They've put out some really impressive and memorable horror films that have been critically acclaimed. We've seen Hereditary and Midsummer, Lighthouse. We've seen a lot of these films come out, and Saint Maud is the latest to come out. And like you mentioned, yeah, it's just as thought provoking and psychological as A24 horror films have come to be known.
Absolutely. And this film is directed by Rose Glass. Not familiar with the director, but really great performances in this film. Morfydd Clark plays Maud, and then we have Jennifer Ellie playing Amanda in the film, which is one of the patients. And there's a bunch of other actors in it, but really focusing on the character of Maud herself. She was ex-nurse. I guess she's working in a hospice now, working with patients in their final days.
The opening of the film, we see a glimpse into her past. She is a nurse, and she is working and dealing with a patient that is, dying, and she has to perform CPR on the patient. And it shows her pumping on the chest, trying to revive the patient, but the patient just basically dies. And it's a pretty tragic and traumatic experience for Katie. And she sees some really vivid hallucinations. She sees some really like kind of I'd describe it as the occult. She sees some like really crazy things, like something crawling on the wall. I think it was a cockroach. And she sees, she throughout the film, she actually has these hallucinations where she sees these, she either sees things that she equates to being signs from God, or she sees like these demonic, like kind of possessions or like visions in her head. So this tragic event sort of shapes the rest of the movie going forward, and it picks up after she has gone in and converted to Roman Catholicism, where she's fully committed her life to God. And like you mentioned, she's gets in charge of taking care of this patient, Amanda, who is a choreographer and dancer from America. They're in England. We're not sure of what town it is. It never says, but she's taking care of her there. And basically, Amanda is an atheist. She doesn't believe in heaven or hell. She doesn't really want to hear anything about it. But Maud kind of sets it upon herself to convert Amanda before it's too late and hopefully save her soul. So that's basically the basic setup for the film.
Amanda is pretty much an alcoholic dealing with her life, and she's dying essentially. And it kind of sets up the relationship between Maud and Amanda pushes her away. And Maud is really questioning what is her purpose? What is she supposed to be doing? She's sent from God to save her soul, Amanda's soul, but it's not working out that way. So what is her whole purpose? So it really brings up a lot of questions in the film that having to do with religion and Catholicism and a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely a test of faith on Maud's character. Amanda's pushing away the narrative that she's trying to push, like you need to save your soul before you die. You don't have long left. Let's save your soul so you can move on to heaven in the afterlife. But Amanda isn't having any of it. She thinks it's kind of silly how devoted Maud is without, all she has is her faith. She can't prove anything's real. She's not buying into it. And this really puts a strain on Maud and their relationship. There's also another character played. It's the character of Carol, played by Lily Fraser, who is, we see her come over one night to visit Amanda, and they're hanging out, and we find out that they're having a relationship, a sexual relationship in the film. And Maud sees this, and she's kind of like, okay, yeah, this can't stand. This is going against everything. This isn't helping things. So she corners Carol later when she's she's leaving, and she says, you can't see Amanda anymore. She's going through the last couple months of her life. She doesn't have time for this distraction. She needs to focus on getting her life right before moving on to the other side, basically. And Carol is like, yeah, whatever. She basically brushes it aside. She thinks she's a kook. She thinks she's super into her religion, just trying to push everything on her. And yeah, we see Carol come back a little later on in a scene where it's Maud and Amanda's relationship finally comes to like the ultimate head in the film. So yeah, Amanda's having a party one night. Carol's there, a bunch of her friends. It's kind of like a bohemian kind of party, a bunch of free souls, free spirits, and they're
far
partying
out, man. Groovy.
Yeah, far out. Yeah. Yeah, they're all like the artistic type, hanging out and drinking, smoking, having fun. And Maud sees them all in there, and she's disgusted by it.
Yeah.
And she basically confronts Amanda about it. And Amanda says something about how much of a joke it is, basically about Maud's faith and devotion. And it pisses Maud off, and she slaps Amanda. And Amanda kicks her out and fires her on the spot, basically.
In terms of like imagery and overall like the set design and color palettes, this movie's really dark and depressing and sad, just having to do with faith and religion, and Maud going through what she's going through, and if it's having to do with like terminal illness or just a lot of different areas and themes in this movie. But the overall imagery, it's just like super dark. It's a dark movie.
Absolutely. Yeah. Taking place in England. You rarely see any sunshine in the film. It's always cloudy,
right,
rainy, or dark. Yeah. It's a very dark film. And yeah, it touches on some issues that are, struggling with faith and all that. And it's focusing on this atheist, and it just gives you the sense that there isn't any hope, that this is kind of a false faith that Maud is going after. And after we see Maud getting fired, then we see her go through a thing where she's, it puts her into a crisis, and she basically goes out one night to the bar and acts out. And we see see Maud do some naughty things there.
Yeah, it's in the bathroom, isn't it? Or that she's getting wild.
Yeah. She's at the bar drinking. She looks over at this guy, and she's sort of just like creepily staring at him. And he's like, sees her looking, and he's like looking back, and yeah. So eventually he walks out to go to the bathroom or whatever, and she follows him back there. And yeah, we see a little scene where Maud's getting a little wild with some random guy she meets, and then she basically finishes the job and just walks out, and she's on to the next dude.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
She's got to let loose every once in a while. You can't just devote your whole life to Catholicism. You got to get wild every now and then. So she got it out of her system, and then sets up the rest of the film, which is pretty dark and eerie.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really does. And, when Maud is out one night, she also runs into an old friend or maybe colleague. I can't remember how the relationship is, but it's somebody from her past that she knows. The character's name is Joy, played by Lily Knight. And she sort of asks Maud what she's been doing. It's been a long time since they've seen each other. And, Maud tells her, she doesn't give her a lot of information. She sort of keeps things close to herself. She doesn't want to reveal any secrets. And, Joy, presses it, but she knows that Maud isn't going to give her any details. So Joy ends up giving her a number and says, why don't you give me a call sometime? And we see Joy later in the film too, towards the end. She's out walking. She encounters Amanda's new nurse and interrogates her for information. Then she realizes that her replacement enjoys a good relationship with Amanda. So this is when we see Maud in the apartment. She's begging from a sign from God. And that's when we saw those clouds.
Yep.
She's sort of saying, please, I want to be faithful to you. Show me something. Show me a sign. So after the whole scene that we see of Maud, going out and having these sexual escapades and having a traumatic event happen to her during one of the sexual relationships she has, she's out walking. It shows her, and she runs into Amanda's new nurse, and they strike up a conversation. And she finds out that Amanda and this new nurse have been having a better relationship. It sounds like they're getting along better, and this kind of this makes Maud question her faith again. She's really struggling with it, and she basically asked for a sign from God. You know, please God, she says, she's in her apartment. Please God, show me something that, you know, that I'm doing the right thing by trying to get through to Amanda and save her soul. And it shows a big cloud formation in the sky, and it's a circular cloud formation, really trippy visuals. It's like a swirl, kind of like a vortex in the sky. So this sets Maud back on her path, and she has to go visit Amanda one last time and try to get through to her.
Even the effects were really impressive in this movie, and this movie's really short at the same time. I just was thinking that when we were talking, it's an hour and 20 minutes, and they don't waste any time in the film. And really a lot of dark and disturbing images in this film, and where she's envisioning like these demons. You don't know if they're real, if it's fake, or it's in her head. She's not really seeing these things, so it makes you question a lot of things about Maud's sanity, if she's, you know, insane. But I will say I love the effects in this movie and how they captured all these dark images of the demons, like how they transform into that. I'm like, that's creepy as hell. It reminded me of, like, the Exorcism of Emily Rose or The Exorcist or something like that. You know, all the possession movies had a lot of similarities to it in terms of effects, but it was still very eerie at the same time.
Rose Glass, the director, I believe this is her directorial debut. She did a fantastic job. Yeah, the effects and just the mood and atmosphere she set in the tone, and all the effects were practical. So
Yeah.
it doesn't rely on CGI too much. I mean, obviously the cloud formation and all that, but nothing looks like blatantly CGI or anything. So yeah, I was really impressed with the effects as well. And yeah, it's just this overwhelming sense of doom throughout the film up until the conclusion, which is just a crazy conclusion at the end after she confronts Amanda there. We won't spoil anything there, but you really see some of those effects come into play in those last final scenes there. And we'll say it's a fiery conclusion to what happens.
It's a fiery conclusion. It gets lit at the end, without spoiling too much. And a very shocking ending at the same time, and probably one of the better endings of the year movies I've seen. I really loved how they ended the film and made you think about it more and question more aspects of the film. That's what A24 does. They don't give you like an answer in their movies. Oh. It always makes you think, you know?
It's up to you. It's kind of up to you to decide, is this really happening? Is this all in Maud's head? Because they do show it like it's really happening, but it also could just be in her head too. We don't know for sure, but yeah, that conclusion was crazy. It really solidified the rest of the film for me, just how they ended it. I was impressed. Yeah, it's not a kind of film that I think I'll probably revisit. It's not one I'm going to watch every year, but it's definitely memorable and sticks with you. It makes you think, and yeah, it's just what we've come to expect from A24. Especially in the horror genre.
And some really great performances coming out of Morfydd Clark playing Maud. One of the best female performances of the year too, even though it came out last year. I mean, she was really amazing in this movie. She went to a really dark place with this character. Not really sure if the stuff's happening to her, if it's in her head. She really goes to some different places, and you can see her character get kind of worse throughout the film.
She was terrific. I looked up on her IMDb just to see what else she's involved in, and it looks like she's going to be in the new Lord of the Rings series on Amazon. Wow. So we'll be seeing her moving forward. So I'm sure she'll rise up from that. That's going to be big for her career. So I'm sure we'll see her in more things. But yeah, she did a really good job. Just like slowly, you could tell she was psychologically breaking throughout the film. She's very conflicted. Her performance was A+. I could see her getting nominated for sure. And this film's already been around the award circuits and has, I believe, picked up some nominations, if not wins already. So expect to see Saint Maud in the award season coming up.
And I thought the characters are pretty fleshed out. Really good third act of the film, and all around just really something that stuck with me. And as the tagline says, it's an unholy terror. Woo! And that about explains it, because without giving too much away, it is an unholy terror. A movie that will make you think. It's a movie I'd probably revisit too. I'd probably end up buying it.
Absolutely. Yeah, you love all those A24 films. You've bought all
Yeah.
the other ones, so I expect you to do the same with this. Add this to the collection, eh?
I think I have at least 10 of them. That being said, I'm going to give St. Maud, A24's newest film, a 4 out of 5 Maud hair pieces.
And I am also giving St. Maud, the new A24 psychological horror film that was kind of delayed due to COVID, but is finally releasing. You'll be able to watch this technically in theaters, but mostly on demand is where most people are going to be able to see it. Theaters obviously aren't opening up. I mean, they're opening up, but a lot of people aren't going back yet, obviously, with the pandemic still going on. So make sure to definitely check out St. Maud, A24's newest, from director Rose Glass. Everybody is great in it. The cast is great. Just the overall tone and feel of the movie, psychological. It makes you think and sticks with you. So that for that reason, I'm giving A24 St. Maud a 4 out of 5 Maud hair pieces.
Easy there, Maud. Ooh. Yeah, and this movie is going to be supposed to be hitting theaters January 29th, the upcoming week. Otherwise, it'll be hitting EPIX, which is a streaming service that I don't have, on February 12th. And I'm sure they'll release it on different platforms, probably Amazon and Hulu maybe, but February 12th. So if you guys have not seen it, definitely check it out. Really worth your time. It's a short film, hour and 20 minutes to get right to the point. It's very disturbing and dark, is what we said in the review, and a movie that we highly recommend, and hopefully you guys check it out and support it.
Absolutely, mate. Yep. Support your local independent film, and especially this one, psychological. Makes you think, all around good film to check out, especially if you're in the mood for horror. It's a creepy one. So make sure to check it out, guys, for sure.
Yeah, this is actually the first horror flick I've watched in a while after October, after watching like 45, 50 horror flicks. I haven't really watched any in the holidays and stuff. So this is the first one I've watched this year. Definitely the best horror flick of the year thus far. It's only January. It's the dumpster of movie releases during January. But yeah, definitely really something I enjoyed.
Sets the tone for the rest of the year. Yeah, we'll see what comes out. You know, we've seen Quiet Place get pushed back. You know, Malignant's going to come out, so that'll be one that will be to look forward to from James Wan. So
a lot of movies in general have been pushed back, but we got a lot being released by Warner Brothers and also on HBO Max this year as well. So we'll be back talking about those. A lot of titles we're looking forward to, but we'll just see how the year goes. Hopefully things will get back to normal.
I'm ready for the theatrical experience again, but we're going to have to wait a while again. So
God, I miss those days. Those are like my every Thursday night.
I don't think it's ever going to be the same. Like, I don't know. It seems like that. Maybe it will. We'll see. Just seems like in the moment that it's not. But
yeah, that's wild. All right, guys, well, stay tuned. We have another video coming out next week. Henry and I will be returning to talk about WandaVision episodes 3 and 4. If you guys haven't checked out our review of the first 2 episodes, it's right up here on our YouTube channel. Also, check us out on our website, Cinephellas.com, and on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, where those wild rascals are always posting movie news. You can go over and follow us on our pages. We would greatly appreciate it.
Come get wild with us, those Cinephellas boys. We love talking movies, TV shows. We have our bi-weekly podcast. We're going to be shooting a new episode of that very soon, so that'll be look forward to that. Look forward to the boys talking about the latest entertainment news, the things that we've seen lately. And just shooting the shit with each other and catching up.
That's tomorrow night.
That's right.
Looking forward to that. We're going to get wild for about 2 or 3 hours, per usual. Things will get a little out of control, so we'll be hitting a lot of content and TV shows and movies we're looking forward to and watching. So stay tuned for that.
And until next time, this has been Logan Myers, my friend over there on the other screen. Woo! And I've been Henry Hill, the local wild boy. And until the next beautiful review and Cinephellas podcast and all those wild videos and great content from the Cinephellas boys. We'll see you next time. I'm off into this vortex of a cloud like little Saint Maud. Here I go. Cheers.